and welcome to one of the most castled countries in the world. Slovakia has 180 castles, ranging from ruins to renovated wonders like the one behind me, high on a hill in Bratislava. This castle offers something unique, a view across to two other countries, nearby borders that are under the ever more watchful eye of the socialist government in power. Prime Minister Robert Fico has wanted to reinforce the country's ramparts and keep migrants and refugees out. In this edition of Europe Now, we will be looking at the migrant situation and also what may or may not change with these general elections. But first, here's a brief introduction to the country.
The first Czech Republic was born in the period between the two world wars and then reborn after the Nazi occupation. In 1948, the communists took power in what was known as the Prague coup. 1989's Velvet Revolution peacefully ended their control and led to the first free elections. Soon after, Slovak politicians began calling for more autonomy. By 1993, the Velvet Divorce was finalized. Slovakia joined the European Union in 2004.
The support for the European Union among the Slovakian public is at the level of 73%. But on the other hand, when it comes to migration, the level of support for the European measures, how to tackle the migration crisis, especially the burden sharing, is the lowest in the European Union.
Seeking to forge ever closer ties, Slovakia joined the Schengen zone in 2007 and adopted the euro currency in 2009, something its Czech neighbor has yet to do. But in recent months, the country's Social Democrat Prime Minister Robert Fico has loudly opposed Brussels' plans for the resettlement of refugees.
Well, now that we know where we are country-wise, we've come to the main square here in Bratislava to meet up with Rania. She's a 29-year-old who studied political science in Paris before moving back to her native Slovakia. She now gives language classes on a volunteer basis to newly arrived migrants. Rania, lovely to meet you. I'm Eve. Thanks for your time. Give me first of all an idea what it's like for foreigners to move to Slovakia. Are Slovaks welcoming, open?
I think it all depends on where the foreigner comes from, on the country. So Slovaks can be very warm and welcoming to certain type of people, and they can be very close to another type.
What do you mean? What kind of people would they shun?
I think maybe from other continents it becomes difficult, or if the skin color is different, is darker, it can become difficult. There is a big issue with racism in Slovakia.
And we saw during the year your Socialist Prime Minister Robert Fico, he has basically said he doesn't want to see Muslims arriving in Slovakia.
Yes, but I don't think it's a real issue. I think it's a populist speech that he adopted before the elections, because in any case we don't really have Muslims in the country. We have only a couple thousand of them, and they don't plan on coming to this country anyway. So.
Well, you deal with migrants almost every day. You give volunteer classes. Let's head over and meet them. Speaking 6 languages, Rania can adapt her classes easily to the students present.
Máte otázky? Máš otázky, Faisal? You have questions?
Yes, I have one question because I don't know what mean striko.
It's uncle.
Faisal is 21. He fled fighting in his native Afghanistan 2 years ago. Also in class today, a compatriot of his, Ferdous.
And Ferdous, how are you?
I'm fine.
You're fine?
Yes, I'm fine.
And what about your job interview?
I got the job.
Oh, you got the job.
I start Thursday. It's a nice one, so I'm very happy.
A job and a language important steps to integration. For her language classes, Rania uses the offices of the Human Rights League, an NGO that offers free legal aid to refugees.
Hey, Susanna, any news?
There are between 150 and 200 people in the integration program. But as you know, for Slovakia's entire history, only 600 asylum applications have been granted.
As hundreds of thousands of refugees arrive into the EU, Rania feels her country should be ready to do more to help people settle there. my gosh, Rania, not an easy language to learn. I certainly wish them well with that. However, language vitally important to integrate into a country. What else is available for refugees and migrants arriving?
Well, the whole system here is not at all like in Western Europe. They mostly have language courses, in my opinion, not enough. They also have social workers that help them with finding a job, with medical visits. But a lot of us work on a voluntary basis because there is no real funding and no real financing from the side of the state. The means are very, very limited, so I don't think it's enough.
Okay, well, integration is certainly of concern for Slovaks and the government here. The Prime Minister, Robert Fico, really concerned that if a lot of Muslims arrived, they could create communities in and with of themselves. So what's it like for those who are arriving? Well, our reporter Johan Baudin went to find out.
At these old Slovakian barracks, now a camp for refugees, Araz and his family have just completed the official quarantine period. In his hands, the start to a new life and approved asylum application.
This is a letter that explains our rights, but also our duties of what's expected in Slovakia. It's necessary that I understand it all, so I can know how to work and live and participate in Slovak society.
An expedited process. Araz is part of a group of 149 Iraqi Christians that a Slovakian Catholic foundation decided to help. Father Brankus chose families from Iraqi Kurdistan and now oversees their resettlement.
I believe that we have to focus on the most vulnerable people because we cannot help them all. Maybe it's not politically correct to say it, but yes, there is more space for integration of them. I believe that we can integrate also Muslims and some other people from different religions and cultures, but it will take more time, more effort.
The program has been carried out in conjunction with the Office of Migration. Traditionally, Slovakia rarely grants asylum, only aid in the past year. With these newcomers, the government says it's stepping up its efforts to keep Brussels from interfering.
We don't want someone to tell us who we have to help. So that's why we chose the Iraqi Christians. Slovakia's position on quotas is that it's a joke, nonsense, something ridiculous. And finally, this method of transferring populations from one country to another. For me, that evokes Stalin's methods in the USSR.
According to the terms of the agreement outlining the sharing of refugees, Bratislava would host 2,500 migrants, but Slovakia has challenged this in court. The government has allowed just 500 of them to stay temporarily. Morsim and Jiwa are Syrian. They can stay for up to 6 months, the time needed for their asylum case, which was registered in Austria, to be completed.
It's better than most camps in Austria. Here I try to do all I can not to upset anyone, anywhere.
Here, the refugees, mostly Muslims, are not welcome. The mayor held a referendum to challenge even the temporary presence of these migrants.
The result is that the overwhelming majority of those who voted are against it, 97%. Will not be quiet until the last refugee finally goes.
Since the start of the migrant crisis, the government has fanned the flames of anti-Muslim sentiment. Mohammed Hasna has lived here for 25 years.
Some members of our community, special women who wear headscarves or hijab, they feel a little bit afraid. They have been some assaultations and some physical attacks.
Slovakia is the only EU country that has not officially recognized the religion of Islam. A law passed a few years ago says 20,000 members are required, impossible to achieve for a Muslim community of about 5,000.
I make mainly the speech, the sermons, in 3 languages, in Arabic, Slovak, and English.
Originally from Syria, Hasna has denounced the Prime Minister's call for all Muslims in Slovakia to be placed under surveillance.
These words were very unhappy, unpleasant, and anti-democratic, I would say.
According to the last census, nearly 70% of the 5.5 million Slovaks call themselves Catholic, one of the highest rates in Europe, while just 0.2% identify as Muslim.
So Rania, I know you feel the Slovak state could do more to help refugees arriving, but how do you think the EU as a whole has dealt with the crisis?
I think there definitely has been a lack of agreement between the EU countries as a whole, and I think they definitely need to find another solution and another approach.
Well, an MEP for the ruling Socialist Party here in Slovakia has agreed to take your questions. He's waiting for you. I'm guessing you're going to ask him a lot about migration.
You can be sure about that.
Okay, well, go ahead and I'll
you.
meet up with you afterwards.
Thank you. Dobrý deň. Hello, Mr. Manka.
Bonjour.
Welcome to Bratislava. This is the town I was born in and that I grew up with. That's why I chose this place, which is Hviezdoslav Square. So my first question for you is why a political party such as Smer, which is a social democrat party, why did they choose this rhetoric, this speech, which I personally would call hate speech towards people who need to flee their country, who have no choice and who have to leave their country?
Our Prime Minister Robert Fico told many times that we must help everybody who needs our help. It is necessary, but Europe, we don't save our borders. We don't register any or very small part of refugees or migrants, and it's not good if you have here, not here Slovakia, but here in Europe, many people you don't know who it is.
We saw it also with the arrival of the Assyrian Christians, who were Christians, and still their arrival was clouded in difficulties, was clouded in hate speech. So why is that? And they are Christian and they are fleeing war.
I listening that Robert Fico told that no one Muslim will enter to Slovakia, and it is not true. The problem is that it is not good to have big communities or ghettos. European Union is not able to solve this problem because we were not prepared for such figures. And Robert Fico explained his theory about solving this problem many months before, and nobody listened.
Slovakia takes a lot of financial aid from the European Union. At the same time, I feel that your political party and our government doesn't show a lot of solidarity back to the European Union. So what do you understand under being European and being part of the European Union?
I'm persuaded that this is necessary to be together in Europe. It is not possible to solve any crisis, financial, migrants, and another alone. My country, Slovakia, sent soldiers to Mali after attacks in Paris. Sent 100 experts to the Frontex, because Frontex is the organization for saving and monitoring our borders, Schengen borders. It is not good that some media only feel that if we are against the binding quotas, we are not solidar. It is not the same.
As a young person, as a young Slovak, I would like to ask you specifically about the goals that your party has for young people. So I left straight after high school. I did all my studies abroad. I studied in France without any financial help from Slovakia, even though I applied. So it's France who helped me financially.
We have two big programs. One is for students, is Erasmus+. And this program, financed from European funds and from state budget, helps young people to find new job or to continue in education. We have many type of schools. They produce the people in the sector that is not necessary for our economy.
So thank you for your time. Thank you for answering all my questions.
All the best for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very nice to meet you.
Thank you.
So Rania, how did the talk go with the MEP?
I think it went quite well. I still think, though, that he avoided answering some questions directly. But he seemed open to discussion, so I think...
That's already a good start. Well, Rania, we've now come out to this tree point, as it's called, all that's really left of the pre-Schengen borders that came down in 2007. Today we can literally hop from Hungary to Austria to Slovakia. Do you fear, however, that borders could once again go back up here?
I think it's still too early to say. I don't know what will happen. It's true that there are some issues with border controls now, but I do hope that we don't lose these open borders.
Indeed, because you, in any case, live even across these borders in different cities.
Yeah.
Well, Rania, thanks so much for showing us your Bratislava and an insight into Slovakia. Join us after the news for more Europe Now. We'll decide what country we're in, whether we're in Austria, Hungary, or indeed whether we stay in Slovakia. See you then.